How's it going, YouTube? This week I wanted to do something a bit different, and I wanted to basically make a drum machine, which is something I love doing in VCV, and in fact is one of the things I do the most. Is not just make beats, but also make little drum machines, which I do think is pretty fun. There's a lot of ways you can go about this, of course. As always, modular is pretty flexible. But today, I kind of wanted to do more like, I guess, an Elektron style drum machine. I'm very familiar with Elektron products. I've owned pretty much all of them. I stopped buying them at some point. And I've sold a bunch of them, not because I dislike them, but just, I don't know, got bored of them or whatever. But I currently have a machine drum and an Octatrack, and I really love their sequences. They're very interesting, really sort of malleable. You can do a lot of fun stuff with them. And the interesting thing about that is that this sequencer here called Zou-Mai from Bidoo is pretty much an Elektron style sequencer. It's not quite as flexible, but it is pretty interesting. And I figured we would use this as the basis for the drum machine. Quite often when I make drum machines in VCV, I just end up using like a gate sequencer. Like I really like the gate sequencer from Impromptu. I also like these ones from Count Modular. Just bring up you might have seen me use this gate sequencer 64. It's only 4-track, but I find it's really simple, really clear, and it just gets the job done. But it's not nearly as extensive and fully featured as Zou-Mai here. So let's just sort of get started, hey? I don't really have a plan, so just bear with me, but I've got a rough idea, I guess, of what I want to do. So I've got my clock module here, which if I go up, my clock is here. It goes into this Venom patch bay module. And I've got another clock out module here, but then I have another clock out module here. So I have 3 different clock divisions, and then I have a reset on this one. So I'm going to use green for the clock and for gates. And I'm going to put it on port 2 because it's a faster clock, which is going to give us the correct sort of time signature for this. And I'm going to put the reset in, which is on port 4 here. And so now when I hit run, the sequence is going to run. Over here, I've got this mixer, which I've never really used before. It's from AS. And I usually use the Bog Audio mixers, like, where is it? There, Mix 8 and Mix 4. But I just kind of figured, fuck it, let's use something different. Why not? And so over here, I've got my audio left in and audio right in from 1 to 8, which up here on my mixer, again, with the patch bay, they're all going in here. So we've got a left and a right, just to explain away what I'm doing. And I'm going to use blue for audio, and I'm just going to hook that into the left and the right. So this is going to be our mixer for this drum machine. I'm just going to bring it down here, perhaps. Oh, no, I'll keep it up there. So, firstly, we're going to want a kick drum. And my favorite probably would be the proc bass drum. But the Trummer or Truma drum machine, or bass drums are really good as well. But let's just start with the proc one. And let's bring the gate out, again, green, put it into the gate. And then we're going to do the audio out, and that's going to go into channel 1 here. And the thing is about this, it's sort of like, it's a sequencer, but it's not just a gate sequencer. You got gates, you got volt per octave. You also have CV 1 and 2, which you can control the different CV levels on these 2 outputs on each step, which we operate in this little window here, very much like an Elektron sequencer. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do the X and Y here on CV 1 and 2, and let's do this sort of salmon color for modulation. And I am also going to do the volt per octave, which is going to give us pitch, but in order to do that with these proc modules, I need to use this little expander, which gives us tuning and decay, and Q, which is quad select, which selects the different quads. I'm just going to go with the tuning. We'll put that in here. And let's just put in some trigs. So the way to do that is to click one of the trigs and then select a tune, or sorry, a note on the keyboard here. Alternatively, you can hit Shift and it will just do it automatically on C. So if you just want drums, you can just sort of put a few in, you know. Let's maybe put that one there. All right, so, you know, pretty boring, whatever. But let's, in fact, maybe we should increase the volume of this. It's a little bit weak sounding. So one thing I usually like to do is chuck a bit of debriatus on the output. So let's just do that real quick. Give us a little bit of saturation. All right. Beautiful. Love that. So, what if we wanted this hit, or let's just create a new one. What if we wanted this hit to be a different tune, or tuned differently? So let's just try this. I mean, already, that's kind of cool that you can do that. I'm not saying you can't do that using other modules. Of course you can, but it's just all wrapped up in this sequencer. And you can take this further. So let's add another note here. And let's do it like that. Actually, let's get rid of that and let's put one here. Let's do it more like there. And let's change the length slightly, just a little bit. And the reason why we want to do that is so we can hear these CV changes. And so you might hear this, but there's no slew on these CV changes, so it's just kind of clicking off or cutting off at the end. You can use the slide key here, or knob, but that also slides up. I mean, it's fine, like it can be fine, but I do find it's a little bit weird that it sort of like clicks off like that. So what I'm going to do is bring in a slew. And I'm going to bring in this relatively new one from Black Noise, which I actually really like. I'm going to put it on slew mode and put it on fast. And I might do the rise to nothing, but then the fall to that. And let's just try it. And let's bring this over like that. And so let's just bring one of these scopes down so we can see what we're doing. So now you can see we're getting a different vibe. So let's bring this slide back down. So I kind of think that even though it's cool that they've got a built-in slide, I actually feel like it kind of works better if you end up using an external slew. But that's just me. You don't have to do that, of course. So these two are like different notes. Let's change the CV on them as well. And you know what might be interesting is if we duplicate this cable and put it into the on the slew one, oh sorry, the CV1, and put it into the decay, so we can adjust multiple settings with one CV setting. Now, of course, we could use a whole other track. This is just track 1. If we wanted to use another track to edit just this one voice, we totally could do that, but let's not do that. And let's adjust this one as well. So I think that's pretty cool. Let's just get rid of this scope. Now, let's add another voice, shall we? So, let's stay on the proc train, and let's maybe bring in this clonk module, and let's duplicate this expander so we get the tuning, the decay, and the quad select. Let's also duplicate the slew just so we're not having to do it later. And let's just set this up. So we're going to go into the gate. We need to do the VO out into the tuning, and we're going to take CV1 into X and also the decay, just like we did before, and CV1 into Y. And let's bring the what do we want? There we go. Let's bring the audio out into channel 2. Alright, so now we'll want to select track 2, which we do by selecting this little button here. And let's just put in a few notes or a few trigs if we're going to use the Elektron parlance. So I want to have a trig there, so let's just put one there. Now, this clonk module kind of at this time, or at this stage, sounds kind of like a, how do you say, like a clave. But there's a wide variety of sounds in this. So, and we can also change the quads. Which gives us a different selection of sounds. So let's just stick with that for the time being. And let's see if we can get some different vibes here by increasing the CV and the length. I'm going to increase the length quite a bit and then add another step here. Okay, so now we've got like a pretty different rhythm going. Maybe we can add another one here. Increase this one's length a bit and change this one's CV settings. Right, let's mute channel 1. Let's change the tuning on some of these. No, oh, that's because this is too long. Let's lower that. If you get overlap in the length, they don't re-trigger, which makes sense because if you want to have it bend from one to the other, like if it was a synth with a long note and you wanted it to go into the next one and not re-trigger the envelope, for example, it's just the way it works. So let's also bring that down. I'll bring it up slightly. So that's pretty cool. And what if we did one more trig up here and we did a really high note and we increased CV1. Alright, so that's pretty cool. And this is exactly the kind of beat slash rhythm that you can get in an Elektron sequencer. This is 100% Elektron vibes. Now, I feel like these two rhythms are slightly sort of like off from one another. Unfortunately, I don't think I can, like on an Elektron sequencer, you can hold shift and then the arrow buttons, and it will shift the entire sequence just across, back and forth, on the timeline here. I don't think I can really do that here, but that's okay. I think it still sounds good. Let's bring in some more elements. Now, we've used a bunch of proc. Let's use something a little bit different. I really like this module. It's pretty hectic, but it's pretty cool. Taiso Daiko from ALM. So I'm going to use, in this case, I'm going to use, because it's got two trigger inputs and sort of two voices, I suppose. I might use 2 tracks for each of the trigs. Let's just bring it over here so we get a little bit more space for it. And let's bring these out onto different channels as well. Now, we've got a choke and we've got an accent input as well. We've also got all of these other inputs, and this is where I feel like it's a bit annoying in a sense that you only get 2 CV outputs per track. But it's not going to be a big deal because we're using 2 tracks. So let's put one into the rate. Oh, why did that not work? To the rate, into the wave, and then into the release, and the surface. I might shuffle these around if it's not the right vibe, but let's see how we go. We've also got a vol per octave. Let's just chuck that in as well. Notice how there's only 1 volt per octave, and so you got 2 trigs which do 2 different kind of voices, but you don't get 2 volt per octave ins. That's fine, we'll figure it out. So let's just mute these real quick, and let's go to track 3, and let's just chuck 2 hits. Yeah, like that, like a classic sort of snare vibe. And let's just play around with some of these knobs to see what they do. Well, so far rate does nothing. I think rate does something in relation to something else. Yeah. Yep. So this is like the rate of the decay on the pitch on the pitch envelope. So extremely wide variety of sounds possible from this thing. Surface is kind of like attack, I guess. Let's just leave it at that. Let's go to track 4 and let's see what happens when we use the trigger 2 input. And let's change some of these CV signals. Annoyingly, I don't really want to use the surface input, so let's put that... In fact, let's just change these entirely. Let's get CV1 into the wave input, and let's see what happens when we do that. And let's get the release into CV2. And let's also change the wave on this one. And the length. So, already pretty crazy stuff. All told, we probably didn't need to use 2 tracks here, but maybe we get a little bit more variety by doing that. Let's go back to track 3. Let's put it into rate and start. Maybe I should do it the other way around. Start, rate, and what if I put one here? And what if I put the rate? And if I go back down to track 4 on this one and put this up. Or was it this one? And let's... So let's bring in the other beats. You know what would be cool is if we had, let's just stop that, is if we had a filter on the Taiso Daiko. Which filter to use though? That is the question. Let's try this dual filter, given that we've got dual outs. And let's go into in A, in B, out A, out B. Let's bring the amp levels up, and let's put a modulation source. Let's do a random source. Often my favorite is just to go straight for the wicked modules. Let's get a Halverson. Is it Halverson? Yeah, Halverson algorithm, and let's put it in the low pass, or the FM1 and FM. What do we want? FM2. FM2 is bipolar. Let's go to FM2 for both of them. And let's put the Q up on both. Put this down a bit, the frequency, and do it evenly across both. We'll see how we go. Could do a mix output. In the wrong one. I need to be in that one. There we go. Alright, so let's play this. Let's just mute these ones. And let's... What if also we had, say, a delay? So many delays to choose from. I mean, like, Chrono Blob is just a classic. It's hard to pass up. There are a lot of other great delays. Let's try this new one from 4MS. Maybe that's too large though. It takes up too much space. Let's try just the delay from Surge. And let's bring this out to there. Let's bring this out to there. Let's go like this. Out A, out B. Now, we're gonna need to clock this, I think, so let's bring our clock in. Beautiful. Look at that. Amazing. Alright, so things are getting interesting now. What if we brought in another kick drum that is a little bit more 4 to the floor, kind of, to give us some rigidity to our beat. So let's just go to our... Oh, this is not going to work. Volt. So, let's try Tremor FM, which is a great module. Let's go into this track. Let's just mute this as well. And let's just do, let's go into track, what is it, track 5. And let's just do straight up 4 to the floor. All right, and the output. Ah, damn it. Beautiful. Now, I'm using the gate over here rather than the gate down here so that it just gates this first oscillator and not the noise. Which means we can have a gate into the noise as well on track 6. And we can, let's do individual outs as well. Let's just manipulate this sound a bit. Yep. Do love FM drum synthesis. Alright, let's go to track 6, and why don't we do this? We want to go out as well, so we can hear it. Let's give it... There we go. Love that. Let's unmute other things. Alright, so far I think that's sounding pretty great. One thing I think we need is some like hi-hats. Got so many ways to do this. It would be really easy for me to just go proc, hi-hat, and go with that. And maybe let's just try that to begin with. Let's also duplicate this, bring this down here. And we're not going to need the volt per octave because we're not going to tune it. Let's get these X and Y into the CV1 and 2. And we need the audio out, of course. There we go. And let's just do something really standard and just kind of fill in all of these. Let's every few, shall we say, skip a few of the steps. Let's just Kind of wish there was a solo button. That would be nice, but there isn't, so whatever. Now, I kind of like that one. Now, so in this case, I kind of don't necessarily want every step to have a different CV. Well, we could try that. That might be interesting. But I guess I kind of want it to be fairly rigid, so maybe we just keep it as it is. Maybe this tremor needs to be tuned differently. Yeah, that's better. In fact, let's take this X out and put it into the decay. And let's just kind of change the CV1 on every step to be a bit different on the decay. Increase the length. Not what I wanted to do. And let's take some of them and bring them down so they're... See, so the worst thing about using this sort of Elektron style sequencer compared to using actual Elektron, and I mean this goes without saying I guess, but I'm using it with a mouse. On an Elektron sequencer you've got two hands, you can do lots of stuff quite quickly, especially if you know your way around, which I do. Either way though, I think that's sounding pretty good. Let's bring in another element. And in this case, let's bring in noise plethora. And this is going to be a little bit trickier because we're going to need PCA. Let's continue this trend by using AS and pull both of these outs into the ins. And then we're going to want an attack decay. So it's always fun to use the Bog Audio one. I think it's a quality attack decay. And let's bring the envelope out. And let's bring the trig in from here. We probably don't need to have... We probably don't need to use both voices actually, so let's just use one voice. We'll just use this VCA instead. And let's get rid of this, and let's get rid of this. Keep things a bit simple. And last input. And yeah, let's trigger it. Might just mute all of these other tracks so we can hear what we're doing. Let's go down to track 8. Let's just bring in a few random... Maybe they don't need to be quite as close together. Bring it, actually let's bring a new one. This time let's use Dadras. And let's just do a few of these. So we get a bit of variation. And perhaps one last thing would be I want a sample rate or bit crusher. Let's try this bit crusher from MSN. And let's do the output, input. That's good. How's the sample rate sound? Proc also has a really great sample rate reducer and bit crusher, but you know, let's try something different. And let's also add a delay onto this. And this time let's try Prince of Perception. And let's take it into the out. And let's tune it. Clock it. Maybe into this clock this time. All right. So, that's where we've ended up. We've made a drum machine. Of course, we've made a beat at the same time. We could change this beat completely by initializing the Zou-Mai and starting fresh. And I think it's pretty cool, but it's just fun making beats in VCV. And then we've got the debrightus up here, so if we... So there you have it. Pretty simple, but also quite complex drum machine. Hopefully you enjoyed watching me build it. Like I said, I just kind of made it up on the spot, but it's also based on you know, my knowledge of using VCV to make drum machines in the past. So this is very much the sort of the vibe that I like to go for, kind of glitchy, lots of modulation, that kind of thing. So that's going to do it for this video. I really need to get round to uploading these patches to patch storage. I am going to do it. I just, you know, you just have to bear with me. I will be doing it. Maybe I'll do it for this one, and then you can download this little drum kit. Only issue with that is I'm not using all free modules. Some of these are paid modules. I guess in future, if I'm going to put them on patch storage, I will have to make them free. Like the proc modules are paid, the Taiso Daiko is paid. So yeah, you just have to sort of bear with me on that in that regard. But that is this drum machine. That is this video, and I'm going to leave it there and just play it out. And hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.